The weather's been kind of rough here. Even though it is Southern California, it hasn't been wet, it's been really windy. So that stopped me from painting the ukulele. So I've got an early start today, and I no longer have a cold. So I'm hoping to paint it. Now what I've done is I've got myself an old military footlocker. I want to turn this into a little portable paint booth. So the idea is hang it from in there, paint it, and then close the door. No chance of dust or other nastiness going in. So I've decided I'm gonna cut a hole through the top, well, what I'm calling the top, because I want the door to open right-handed. I guess I could have done it the other way. Whole great thing is I'm repurposing. So I've scratched in a little X here, which has measured the center of all this. I grabbed myself my good old trusty gigantic drill from church rummage sale I attended at one point. It needs to be cleaned up a lot. That one doesn't work, so I have other plans for that. So I'm going to take this, I'm going to use this hole drill bit and drill right through there. The idea is this is where the hook will go through. I'll wrap the hanger around a dowel or something so I can turn and twist the ukulele on the inside. And there we go. All right, here we are. And I've put the hanger right here. Got it hooked. I can spin that as needed. Go ahead and start on the back side so that if things just go horribly wrong, I might be able to salvage it. Alright, well, I'm glad I started with the back. Because I was a little too liberal with the paint. Let's see. Let me get a good look here. I'm going to play with the brightness. Maybe you can't see it, but right here around the shoulders, right in this area, there's a little bit of a drip. So that's going to be a little more sanding, but a lot easier to do sanding on the back than the front. Once I saw that, I then knew, okay, I'm going a little too thick. So I'm going to repeat this multiple times with sanding in between, as just like primer should, show my little imperfections. Right there, just above the shadow of the camera. Hold still, please. Maybe you can see it. Can I zoom in? Get my head out of the way. A little bit, right in there. You can see a little high spot. That's a glue seam right there, so it needs to be cleaned up a little bit. And so I'm going to hit this with some fine grit sandpaper. Let's take it into the shop. Now we'll be doing the 400, and we'll see if we need the 800 anytime soon. So I've set down some plastic so I try not to get any dirt or grime attached to the instrument. And just like that right there, that's what I don't want, doggone it. And like I did when I started, I'm gonna start on the back. I don't know if the camera can pick it up, but I can see a little bit of this drip right here on the high shoulders. So I'm gonna get a flat sanding block and only work on the back here. I initially started with a really large sanding block, and that turned out to be not the thing to do. So I grabbed myself this little 12-degree wedge that I had made a while back. It had a nice flat surface on the back, and made a little tiny sanding block out of that. I also am using just my fingers with some of the 400 grit sandpaper. So here we go. Well, I've completed my first sanding, and let's see, well, let's move this. You can see a lot of the high spots have been knocked down a little bit. Right here we've got a little bit where we almost sanded through all the paint. On this side, high spots, that spot where the drip was, is sanded down good. Let's see if you guys can see what I'm doing here. Will the camera show any of the shiny? Okay, where it's shiny right there is, let's see if I can explain it. We've got the imperfections, but also the imperfections in the paint. When you spray the paint down, you get kind of a gritty texture. And so what you do in this case, you take that 400 grit sandpaper and you go over the top of it and knock down some of the high points, leaving only the low points. Then you hit it with another touch of paper. You hit it with another spray of paint, and it'll fill up some of those low points. Of course, making some high points again too. Well, what I'm going to do this time is I'm actually going to hold this out flat, and I'm going to spray liberally. The reason for holding it flat is because if I'm standing up, I risk a drip. I'm going to hold it flat, spray liberally, and really try and get rid of all that. I have already done that with the back. I haven't yet sanded it, but that ghost of a drip is pretty well gone, and so I'm kind of pleased with that. So that's what I'm going to do next, and we'll just kind of see what's going on. But where you see the ukulele's shiny spots on the finish right now is the high points of the paint, and all the dull spot is the low points of the paint. So I've completed that. You can really see with the tape just how liberal I got with the paint. Held it out flat, sprayed real liberally on it, and then waited for it to set before I hung it back up. There's still a high point up here where that glue joint is, but it's going away. And I've already done it to the back. And there's like one little high point, that very first drip that I made. So I'm going to hit this with a sander on the back side and the front side again, and I'll just keep doing this. My concern is I should have got 2 cans. So I'm really pleased with the way the sides and the neck have already turned out. So I may go a little thin on that and just leave that the way it is and focus on the body of the guitar, because this is really what you see. This is the pretty part, you know, and you don't want a little drip right there, and you don't want a little glue spot right there. So I'll keep doing this until I run out of paint. I have lost track of how many coats I've put on this thing, but I am now out of paint. Nothing. So we'll let this dry and we'll move on to blue, because that's the color it's going to be. Here's the color that I'm going to be doing it. We got a nice solid blue paint. My wife chose this color. It is gloss deep blue. She just came by and saw it and said that's beautiful, so she really likes this color. I got used to using the primer and I sprayed on the paint, and I've got a couple drips on the back that I'm gonna have to sand down. So, whoops. But front looks really good, and it just lets me know that as I paint, I need to go ahead and be a little thin on my paint application. So there we go. This is probably what I'll be working on off and on for the remainder of the day. I do not expect to get to the clear coat today because this is going to take more time between paint. It still feels a little tacky. But this will require more time between painting and sanding, so probably going to be a lot closer to a layer of paint, wait an hour, sand, a layer of paint, wait an hour, sand. So this is going to turn into many days of work, which was exactly what was expected. So I think I'll pause here, publish this video, and we'll check in later this week.